Today, we're going to be diving into one of the most confusing trends in the detailing space, coatings. Ceramic coatings, spray coatings, they're very confusing. What is a ceramic coating? What is it? What is this Triphene? Is this the new Graphene? Is this the new SiO2? Or is it just a marketing term? I want to talk about it. It's becoming more and more popular. I think just like F1 and ceramic sprays back in the day, now we're seeing Triphene. And so I kind of wanted to talk about it because we've had ceramic coatings for a long time. Then, and specifically ceramic sprays, if we think back to like the 2018, 2019, even till today, ceramic coatings, ceramic sprays have really been kind of the darling of the industry and for brands too. And then we saw graphene try to come in and disrupt the game, similar to how ceramic coatings did. But it kind of flopped. Honestly, it's still kind of flopping and just kind of there. No one really, I think everyone got so overworked and so fatigued from all the fake ads that they saw pumping ceramic sprays that when graphene tried to replicate that or be the next evolution of that, it kind of fell flat on its face. And now suddenly we see this thing called Triphene being pushed as the next evolution, better than ceramic. So I thought I would just kind of talk about, what's real, what's just marketing, what you should actually use on your cars and your clients' cars, and why sometimes claims are just that, they're just claims. Sometimes you should actually use it. In fact, I did a podcast episode a long time ago about Topcoat F11, and I bring up Topcoat F11 because it has so many similarities to what's going on with this Triphene thing, so many similarities. And so, but back when Topcoat F11 was super popular, in fact, I think the same guy or one of the same people that was behind Topcoat F11 is behind the Triphene thing. In fact, I know it is. I literally talked to him on the phone. Long story there, but we could go into that. And so I bring a lot of similarities to that because it did a lot of good, but it also did a lot of bad too. So it ushered in a higher price point for people, for brands. It ushered in a new segment of things when they started talking about ceramic sprays, but it also adds a lot of confusion and stuff like that too. So I guess to set the industry standard, to give us a baseline of where we're coming from, like what are ceramic coatings, SiO2, silicon dioxide, quartz. We have all these kind of terms that get thrown around: hardness, SiO2 content, all these different things that we hear, all these different buzzwords. But at its base chemistry, ceramic coatings are silicon dioxide, SiO2, derived from quartz or literally sand, right? But what it does is it creates a semi-permanent bond with the clear coat when applied properly, right? Prepped and applied properly. That creates a hydrophobic layer that resists dirt, water, UV, whatever, right? Think of it basically waxes on steroids. I know for a lot of you, you're going to be saying, well, duh, I know what a ceramic coating is. But just so for context of this podcast, so we have at least a foundation to go off of, that's basically what ceramic coatings do. They just create a hydrophobic layer, a semi-permanent bond with the clear coat and the outside world. That's it. It often requires prep, polishing, heat curing sometimes, IPA wipe down sometimes. Those are more so for what I effectively call the wipe-on ceramic coatings. And then we have the consumer level sprays, which is what like the Topcoat F11 was. That is like what Toughest Shell is. They're way more forgiving, easier to apply, and you can reapply them more often. They don't take very long to apply the sprays, right? Now they don't. They used to take a long time. When I think about like Ceramic Pro Sport way back in the day, it was a nightmare, and a lot of them still are a nightmare. They can't use them in direct sun. They when it comes to the sprays, they streak a lot. They're difficult, but Toughest Shell obviously isn't any of those things. So there gets some confusion, and here's where the confusion starts automatically of what makes a good ceramic. And a lot of companies, or some companies, will try to say that a high SiO2 percentage makes for real protection. Okay. But in my opinion, it's more than just the SiO2 percentage, because too much SiO2 percentage actually makes the product not workable at all, meaning it's going to really streak. It's going to not be forgiving at all. So I think about it as a formula as a whole, not just like how much silicone dioxide's in it, not how much solvents in it. I look at it as the whole formula. And so that's why when we start hearing buzzwords of graphene, trifine, even SiO2, I'm very reluctant, because that is just, it's like your baking brownies. I've always tried to make it into something that's a little bit easier to understand. It's like, bacon brownies or cookies, and you're talking about how your eggs are pasture raised on a farm in Montana and have, 1,000 or 100 square feet per hen or chick to produce eggs, and they actually just lay eggs in the grass, and you have fairies that dress up and collect the eggs, and you go all knee deep on the eggs, but you're making brownies. So the eggs are great, but really it's about the sugar, the flour, the water, the oil, everything else you put into the chocolate, everything else you put into the brownies that makes the end product delicious. Right. So a lot of times we get hung up on talking about the SiO2 percentage, or it has triphene, or it has graphene oxide, or clear graphene, or all these other things. And it's like, guys, we're just talking about the eggs. Like, what about everything else? What about the flour? What about, when it comes to coatings, it's like, what about the solvent percentage? And this is something that I talked a lot about in developing the Picture Perfect polish that I figured out. It's like everyone, gets all caught up in the, is it non-diminishing or diminishing abrasive? And it's like, man, the abrasive, at least in polishes, is one of the most important parts, similar to maybe the eggs are very important in brownies, and SiO2, the quality of it is very important, but it is only one of 12 or 15 ingredients in the whole entire formula, right? And so the carrier solvents matter. But anyway, so ceramic sprays like F11 back in the day blew up because the formula mattered more than the term ceramic. Ceramic was kind of the gateway drug, the gateway term to get people to like, ooh, is this a new wax? But at the end of the day, I don't know if F11 was that, but products like, how about Tough as Shell? They blew up because they actually worked, and they did it. They were easy to apply, offered great protection, and something like Tough as Shell, I don't rely on the hype train, right? And so what happened, though, is obviously the audience gets fatigued and they run out of people to sell to. And so we had other brands that were late to the ceramic train. They didn't really know how to develop products. Maybe they were getting sold on the latest and greatest from their supplier. And that's how we got graphene, which I effectively title graphene as like the overhyped darling, right? Everybody thought, everyone was searching, chasing. I remember SEMA that year. Like, everyone's chasing the next ceramic craze. Like, what is it? What is the next thing? And everyone thought it would be graphene. So what is graphene? It's a single atom layer of carbon. It's basically carbon. I got this definition from the internet. It's a single atom layer of carbon in a honeycomb lattice. So graphene by itself is insanely strong and conductive. Graphene oxide is what's added in trace amounts. I got this from the internet. Graphene oxide is added in trace amounts to coatings, allegedly to reduce heat retention, static, and water spotting. Okay, so the key claims for graphene was less water spotting than ceramic, because that's what a big complaint of ceramic coatings, of things that were happening with ceramic coatings, is a lot of people were getting water spots. Better slickness, which is true, and longer durability, which is debatable, because it's about more than just the single ingredient in the formula. It's about the entire formula in general, which goes back to, does graphene or graphene oxide by itself help that much prevent water spotting, or is there something else in the formula, right? Because most graphene coatings, in fact, all graphene coatings, still heavily rely on that SiO2 or silica as a base. and then they add in usually 1% or less graphene oxide. So there's really no agreed upon percentage or standard or testing. So you really can add any amount of graphene into the formula and call it graphene coating, right? And the vast majority of people, like 99% of people, aren't going to have the resources or knowledge to send in a formula to get reverse engineered and get a full diagnostic of the chemical breakdown of the formula. So the vast majority of companies that are pumping graphene are really completely safe, even if they actually don't add any graphene in there, right? Could even be a very, very trace amount, and they call it graphene because what are we trying to do? Get on the hype train, market, right? So I get it from that perspective, right? But in practice, when it comes down to it, and I think why graphene never really took off was because there's literally little to no difference in gloss, protection, or water behavior than a ceramic coating. If you took any graphene wipe-on ceramic coating and compared it to the Gloss Boss, which does not have graphene in it, they would be virtually identical and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. If you took a graphene spray coating and compared it to Tough as Shell, there would be virtually no difference. In fact, you may not even like the graphene spray because in most chemicals, it separates in the bottle and you can see the little flakes, right? I will say the one aspect that I do like graphene and stuff, and I tried a Tough as Shell infused with graphene. I have it. I think I even did a video on it. That I did notice that it was a tad bit slicker, but that's about it. That's literally about it. And so for me, it wasn't really worth trying to jump on this graphene hype train because it really didn't do anything different, you know? So can graphene add value? Maybe, but graphene doesn't add anything, really. And it doesn't ensure or guarantee that you're going to get a better coating. 99% of the time, it's literally just a marketing angle. And I think where the marketers messed up with that is they were piggybacking on the back of ceramic, the term ceramic, and it was just too soon. People were too fatigued from the ceramic craze, and graphene was just too soon, right? And so we've kind of seen it flutter for the past 3 or 4 years. Really hasn't caught on. People are fatigued. But what's interesting is now we see this term trifine, which is this like mystery marketing term. No one had even heard about it. It's actually made up and trademarked by the brand Maxell. And so supposedly it's a blend of like graphene and ceramic and fluoropolymers. It claims to offer superior surface tension, extended longevity, slickness. They use buzzwords like self-leveling, heat shielding, super hydrophobic, better than ceramic. But the truth is that anytime a technology terminology, not sure if that's even correct, but anytime you see a brand trademark a technology, we see it all the time with Meguiar's, we see it all the time with Turtle Wax. That's why I joke in some of the videos, especially with the Meguiar's product, I call it like disappearing technology. That's why I joke with that kind of stuff, because anytime you see a technology innovation that's trademarked by the brand that is selling it, chances are that is not a real innovation. It is a made-up marketing term. I'm not explicitly saying that is the case with Triphene. I'm just saying when I've seen it in the past and I've been in the meetings where they talk about technology claims and new technology claims that they could trademark, chances are that brand is making that up so they could own that word and then create, claims around that, and then no one else can claim that. Well, that product's inferior because it doesn't have Triphene. Well, it doesn't have Triphene because, we own Triphene. We own the technology of Triphene, right? And really, the problem is there's no, SDS sheet or lab data that's public on Triphene. There's no verified test results showing it's better than SiO2 or graphene coatings. It's not a chemical class recognized in industrial coating literature. It's literally not a thing. I go to Walter and I say, hey, can we put Triphene into the Gloss Boss or into, Tefachel? And he's like, that's not a thing. Triphene is not an ingredient. It's a technology term, right? So what's most likely happening with it is that it's a rebranded hybrid coating, probably. Maybe with graphene, it's probably ceramic, fluoropolymers, additives, because good polymers, get it out. They can reduce surface energy, similar to here you go, Teflon. But again, it's how it's formulated, not the buzzwords. The buzzwords don't do anything other than marketing, right? So the problem that I currently see with the Triphene is that there's no transparency on ingredients, like what actually is Triphene other than a technology term. And that's fine. If it's just a technology term, that's fine. Hey, Triphene is, our special blend of, fluoropolymers and SiO2 and graphene, and all together it's made this thing called Triphene. Fine. I'm okay with that, right? But there's so far been really no long-term testing. There's really no reputation. There's no one really talking about it other than the Maxell as the brand. And so again, that's always a little bit of hesitation. It keeps me a little reserved when that happens, when it's only the brand talking about it. I like third-party stuff. So I think instead of asking, is it ceramic? Is it graphene? Is it Triphene? We need to ask other things like, how easy is it to apply? Does it streak? Can I use it in the sun? What's the flash time? How does it perform? Water beading, water sheeting. Does it last through multiple car washes? Any noticeable slickness or protection? How does it maintain over time? Can you reapply it without stripping? Does it degrade evenly or patchy? What's the thickness? And so for me, because my background is torture testing, I've literally tested dozens of coatings, pro-grade coatings, cheap Amazon coatings, cheap sprays, expensive sprays, and all that experience. And luckily, I was able to get introduced to a real formulator chemist early on who was able to kind of help me navigate a lot of this stuff, and then help me develop things like Toughest, right? And the Gloss Boss, right? Easy to use products, no hype. They don't have technology claims. They're overbuilt for what they are. And I'm so grateful that people are starting to see that. Even with the Picture Perfect Polish, people are really starting to see how great of a product it is. The reviews are coming in paragraphs, which is awesome. But me personally, I don't care about using buzzwords. I just want the product to work. And I want for other people to be like, damn, that was easy and that was effective. And that's exactly what's happening. So I think that everyone should try the latest and greatest buzzwords. I'm a big fan of that so that you can make the choice for yourself. But just know that, this creates a lot of skepticism in the industry. And so people usually revert back to what they know, which is totally understandable. But I think this is also what makes the industry super fun. Is that we get to try to decipher what new technology claims are and what it actually means. And we get to ride the wave if you want to ride the wave of things. But I've been doing a ton of just customer education on the back end, a lot of emails back and forth with customers trying to explain stuff like this because they're starting to see a lot more of this Triphene kind of be thrown around and stuff like that. And so, I think, in my personal opinion, if you're looking for my definitive answer on this, I don't know if you are, but I'm going to assume you are, to wrap up this podcast episode, I say, stop chasing the trend and start chasing what works. Ceramic is proven. It's stable. It's the base for most coatings, even these Triphene or graphene things. It still comes back to ceramic. And so I just, graphene can be good, but it kind of depends on the entire formulation. But again, I don't think there's enough added benefit to graphene. And Triphene itself, in my opinion, currently, it's mostly hype until it's proven otherwise, right? And when you hear things like, you could just, never wash your car again. It's just, come on, guys, right? These claims are just crazy. So If you want to know what I actually use on my own cars, I use my base is Gloss Boss wipe-on coating. Easy to apply, very forgiving, very stout, right? Then I maintain with Tough as Shell ceramic spray, right? And I'll make sure to link everything below. You can check it out. This isn't a commercial for my own brand. This is to open up the conversation about topics like Triphene, Graphene, and ceramic and what's the difference. But from every data point that I've collected and talked to and all the conversations that I've had, Triphene is just a technology claim that is a buzzword for now, which is probably rooted in SiO2 and ceramic. So at the end of the day, you'll probably get a pretty good product because it's rooted in ceramic. And so it just has this technology name attached to it. But again, it is what it is. We're just watching trends happen, and that's what makes part of this industry really, really fun. So with that, I hope it gave you some insight, some clarification on what these new technology claims may be. I'll stick to the tried and true, which are actually very advanced formulas. It's not just repackaged old hybrid formulas with new technology claims. That's also what happens. My formulas are actually really, really cutting edge. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that with the Picture Perfect polish. It's a good example. It's like, wow, I've never tried something like this. This works across so many different things. And in fact, people are getting confused because it's actually so much easier to use, so much less product, and so much better that they're having to kind of come up with new habits, which I think is very interesting because it just works so much better. So with that, I'll obviously make sure I link everything below, but thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. And hopefully this episode just gives you some insight on these new technology claims. So that's what my goal was. Hopefully I accomplished that. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.